So what sets you apart from, sets you apart from other DJs?
I think my fear of being whack. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter what party I'm in, no matter, how many times I've done this, I still, I stand there, I'm like, yo, like, I can't be whack right now. Like, what do I have to do to not be whack right now?
From New Orleans, with the Forstalls. This is Local Legends. One-on-one conversations with some of New Orleans' most exciting and influential business owners, entrepreneurs, movers, and shakers. They're here to give their take on all things going down in the Big Easy.
What's up, New Orleans? Welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Jonathan Forstall. Our guest today is not just a DJ, he's a conductor of New Orleans musical spirit and a man who's synonymous with the heartbeat of New Orleans nightlife. You've heard him electrify the Superdome as the official game day DJ for the Saints, and he's spun everywhere from jazz fests to international stages. DJ Raj Smoove has spent decades shaping the city's sound, mentoring artists, and giving back to the community. So welcome, my man, DJ Raj Smoove.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I like to start my podcast, and to set a story, let's take us back to 10-year-old DJ Raj. What was he like?
10-year-old me was big into Nintendo and Transformers and G.I. Joe
Really?
and
There you go.
all of the things of the mid to late 80s. I've kind of been around music all my life, and I think around maybe like 7 or 8 years old was like when the movie Beat Street came out. And I had my mom take me to the dollar show to see the movie maybe like 10, 15 times. I was just captivated by the movie, and, the DJ was kind of like the protagonist and was the hero of the movie. So, I just thought it was really dope, and, the creativity that was in it. And, I was also kind of getting into hip hop at the time. So that was kind of like, piquing my interest into the music and into hip hop. And then, a little bit after that time, you had artists like Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince and Cash Money and Marvelous, and especially like Jazzy Jeff. Like the He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper album, the Rock the House album. Like, I just couldn't get enough of those. And there was this one track on the He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper album called Live at Union Square. And, they were like live in concert. And, Fresh Prince was hyping up the crowd, and Jeff was DJing and, doing like the Transformer scratch, and everybody in the audience was like, ah. And I was just like, yo, like, that's dope. Like, I could do that. So
it was a movie. Was the first time you really got introduced to DJ?
Yeah. I guess that was the first time I ever saw like a quote unquote like hip hop DJ.
Gotcha.
Because I'm young. Like, I'm not going out anywhere. Like, I'm watching Saturday morning cartoons and stuff.
Right, for sure.
So I'm not going anywhere. So to see that, on the big screen and, seeing dude, like the whole story was about him like coming up and, rocking the parties and then, putting on this huge show for, to commemorate one of his friends. And it spoke to me, and it stayed with me. And, I guess that just developed over time.
That's what's up. So For those of us that haven't seen Beat Street, was it a movie all about, was it about the DJ?
Well, I mean, it was, the movie was about like kids in New York.
Gotcha.
This group of friends, and, the main protagonist was a DJ.
Gotcha.
And like Ray Don Chong was like his love interest in the movie, and one of his partners got killed. So, he decided to put on like this big show to, just pay tribute to his friend. It's like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five was in there. Like a young Dougie Fresh was in the movie. Like there was a lot of breakdancing and breakdance battles like in the subways and stuff. So, I remember going to see the movie and then coming home and breaking apart like the cardboard boxes in the living room and trying to, get my little backspins on.
For real.
So, yeah.
I like that. Anybody else in your family, friends that were DJing? Anybody that?
Nah, like my dad is a pianist and a composer, and, he taught like piano. So like every throughout the week, and especially like on Saturday mornings, people would be coming by the house, taking piano lessons. So, music was kind of like around me my whole life.
Gotcha. You grew up around music.
Yeah.
And what about mom? Mom played it?
No, well, my mom, she played piano. She could play piano, but she wasn't a pianist. Like my mom was an artist. And she taught, like both of my parents were teachers. My mom was in humanities and my dad was in music. So.
But it sounds like you got a lot of creativity, blood flowing through you.
Oh yeah, it is. I come by it naturally.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me, what was, you got any brothers, sisters?
Only child.
Only child. What high school did you go to?
McDonald 35.
Gotcha.
Yeah, class of 94.
Gotcha. So in growing up in New Orleans, do you think that had an effect on, your musical talent and your musical life? Like, immersing yourself in that culture, obviously, being in New Orleans or one of the top places for music. How did that affect you as a child and springboard you forward?
Wherever you come from, your surroundings and the culture that you grow up in helps shape you and helps define you. And New Orleans had its own, take on hip hop, like as far back as I can remember, like in junior high school and high school, like Gregory D and Manny Fresh, Bucksham Time was like, like they were like superstars early on, and New Orleans always had its own rap scene, what I'm saying? Like from Warren Mays to UNLV, DJ Jimmy, DJ Jubilee, like T Tucker, DJ Herb, like New Orleans was really kind of early, especially like on the independent record scene, what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Cash Money and No Limit. So having people in my area that I could hear do it, that I could see do it, listening to the DJs live on the air, DJ Rob Fresh used to be on FM 98, Below the Basement on the weekends, and DJ Rowe, and they're on different stations, but they kind of like, it's a DJ battle on the air.
That's cool.
Rob Fresh is on one, on 98 doing his thing, and Rowe's on the other station, and getting to see them perform, at like live shows. Like I remember, I think after 8th grade, going into high school, the radio stations used to put on like little summer concerts. And there was a concert with like Naughty by Nature. I think Yo-Yo was there. It's like 1990. And Rob Fresh and MC Hard Rod, they had a song, I forget the name of it, but like they performed, what I'm saying? So getting to see, Rob Fresh after listening to him on the radio and then see him perform live on the turntables. And, I'm on the other side of the barricade, like watching like, like one day I'm gonna be over there, getting a chance to do my thing. So, being able to see all of it firsthand and have direct access to the music scene, because it's we have a very small family. Like everybody knows everybody for the most part on the music scene. What I'm saying? Like everybody's related. Like either your dad did it, your uncle did it, your cousin does it. And the music and the culture and the creativity just kind of like just seeps up from the sidewalk. So, we kind of take it for granted, because you go other places and, there's not that amount of creativity, but it's like here it's just in so much of abundance, like we really do take it for granted.
Right. It's just part of our DNA and our upbringing.
It's normal for us.
It's normal. That's a great way to put it.
It's very normal for us. Like, such and such, is amazing on the trumpet, saying like, like Shamar is amazing on the trumpet, or, such and such can sing, or, PJ Morton on the piano or whatever, saying? Like whoever it is, you just have regular people in the neighborhood that can hang with the best of them. Saying? Like I remember.
That's so cool.
Way back, in the 90s, hearing about Trombone Shorty, being a young kid, in Treme, blowing his horn, and then, to see where he at now, like, it just seems completely normal because we all do this for a living, and even there's so many people that do this, and it's not even about the money, like we just do it because we love it. It's in our DNA, it's in our blood, and we have something to say creatively.
Let's see, you at 7 years old, you saw the movie, that kind of inspired you. And you came home, you said you did something with cardboard boxes.
Well, everybody used to try to break dance. So, you had to break the cardboard box out because you can't do no backspins on carpet. So,
that's gonna be
had to lay the cardboard box out on the floor
right.
and, trying to get my little spins and my windmills together. I never could get up off the ground, but, I tried.
Yes, that's hard,
So,
man.
it's hard. I didn't have the momentum to get it spinning, but, I took it to the record side of it, to the DJ side.
Gotcha. So tell me when did you, get your first, equipment, all that kind of stuff? When did it really start moving for you?
I started getting equipment, I think, like I got my first like little stereo system, for those that are old enough to remember like the little component system where you had like the CD changer and you'd have like a tuner with the radio and stuff on it, and you had like a cassette player and a turntable, and everything was separate. I think that had to be maybe like my 11th or 12th birthday. I got that. And then like I had a turntable, so it was like, yo, like I got some records and I can start, doing a little jigga on the turntable. And then I think 13th, 8th grade was when I got my first mixer. And then a little bit shortly after that, I got another turntable. So now I had like a 2 turntable setup and a mixer where I could really start getting down. And then like, every birthday, every Christmas, I'm like, hey, I need a speaker, I need an amplifier.
You started adding
I need this, I need
Mhm.
that, to get to the point where I could actually, maybe DJ a little party now. So like my first party I DJ'd that was 14, and it was a birthday party for one of my friends that lived across the hall from me. She was from Georgia, and she ended up moving out to Eastover. And for her 13th birthday party, they hired me to DJ. So,
That was your first gig?
that was my first paid gig. I got $175.
Still remember that, huh?
It was one of the greatest times. It's interesting though, because I was super excited, and I'm going in there because like I've been just in the bedroom like practicing
Right.
and doing it, and then for the first time DJing in front of people, and I think I'm doing an amazing job, but not realizing that everybody doesn't like the same music that I like.
Okay.
You
So
know.
you learned something?
I definitely, it took a few months because it wasn't until like the next, semester in high school, one of her friends or somebody that went to Fantasy Williams with her came to 35 and was a freshman. And, we fresh back to school, we in a little atrium talking, running it or whatever in the morning. And somehow she was like, oh, you DJ Carmen's party. And I was like, yeah. She was like, I heard you can't DJ. And I was like, oh, that hurt me to my soul.
Right.
But like it really taught me a lesson. Like
Okay.
everybody doesn't like the same music that I like. So like when you're DJing for people, in your audience, you have to figure out what it is that you need to do to really kind of like make them move and make them have a good time.
Right.
You know.
Right. And at 14, that's tough. I mean, that's young to DJ, first of all.
Yeah.
But to read a room and to know what everybody likes, obviously you got your own taste, but
Mhm.
what you like, not what everybody
Yeah,
else.
I mean, because
likes,
me and a lot of my friends, like we were backpackers. We would listen to like Tribe Called Quest and De La
Gotcha.
Soul
Yep.
and
Yep.
Brand Nubian and all of that stuff. And everybody wasn't on that. And I figured that out real quick. So after that, that really kind of put my perspective on figuring out what it is like my audience is into and knowing the right records to play for them to get that emotional reaction from them that I get when I listen to the songs that I really love.
So, I mean, do you still feel like you're still working on that to this day? I mean, reading the crowd and all that, because I can only imagine how you do that. There's so many different telltales. There's so many different things. I mean, tell us a little bit about how that works.
It's just being genuinely kind of like interested in people, and understanding people's experiences, like knowing like demographics and where people are from, what was really going on at the time when they were young and hopping off the porch. You know what I'm saying? Like, what were the songs that, the first time they went to a party, what was it that they heard? And then, I've been, again, like, that first party I DJ'd was in 1991.
Okay.
So here we are, fast forward to 2026.
34 years later. That's right.
So like I've done a lot of research.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha,
I think I can put it like that. So,
Yeah.
I can kind of like tell, like, I'm aware of what people in different, demographics were listening to and what it is that they like and what those, what those bangers are for them. Like
Gotcha.
a lot of the things that was really cool for me that I like doing is DJing for different types of audiences that don't necessarily see like a hip hop DJ, like don't get a lot of mixing and scratching and stuff. And just the momentum of, a party. For example, like, House of Blues would have like cover bands sometime. Like they would have like a Bon Jovi cover band or AC/DC cover band or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like some classic rock.
Sure.
So they hired me to come in there and kind of like open up the show. So I'm going in there with all those classic, rock songs, 70s and 80s, but I'm playing them like I would play, a hip hop set. And,
what you mean?
like blending, like going between records. Like, most people who came up in the 70s and 80s, the record would play to the end and then they would hear another song.
Right.
So it's not so much of let me link these songs together in a specific way that's going to cause the energy in the room to increase. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, when we get to the height of whatever the song is and everybody's singing their heart out, and then once they hit that peak, I'm going to the next record at the right point where everybody's like,
Gotcha.
and then, maybe blending from, one record into another record. So like everything is continuous and you just keep building it up. They don't usually get that type of energy in different type of genres. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
If you go to a rock show, like, you're not really going to hear that.
True.
Like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like I had a chance to open up for Journey and Toto when they came to Smoothie King a couple years ago, and I just went in there and just killing it, like dropping the records at the right time and, hitting the right parts of the record.
So like when you go into when you were opening for them, do you have like a set playlist, or you have something where you kind of work from, or you just completely spontaneous?
It's spontaneous, but I've done a lot of research. So I kind of know. Like there's certain things I've experimented with over the years. Like, all right, if I play this record before that record, I'm going to get a certain response. And then if I throw this in it, because like, it's kind of like a continuous, like I'm gauging people's excitement about the songs it is that they're hearing.
Gotcha.
So especially like, when I would do, like we used to do House of Blues every Thursday night, Soul to Soul back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So every week I was experimenting how to play records. Because I know if I play them in this chain, in this order, this is going to be the response. Well, what if I reverse it and play it the other way? What happens? You know what I'm saying? Are people as hype? Are they less hype? If they're less hype, I know not to play it like this next time. You know what I'm saying? What if I throw this other record in here and, you kind of get a sense of how people are emotionally connected to the music that you play.
Are you making notes after every?
It's all in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Because like again, like it's an emotional response. So like I can feel it when they have that response.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it on their faces, and it's like it imprints on me to now like I can kind of gauge like, all right, I know I need to play this record at this time. I need to keep these records in the tuck for when everybody's gotten a little looser and they're really ready to party, and then I can break this stuff out.
Gotcha.
So like there's just it's just really like curating the mood and the energy of whatever room it is that you're in. And that transcends any age range, any demographic, any genre, like it applies. So it's like I can really play anything. You know what I'm saying? Like I've done like, Spanish events, I've done, reggae, soca stuff, on top of the hip hop stuff, like I said, like the classic rock, even like R&B nights, like playing slow songs and having people feel like I'm having the greatest time of my life right now off of playing slow songs.
Right. It's got to be interesting with everything you see from all that stuff, But at what point does the event itself dictate how you're going to pick your songs? Like the Superdome, right? When you go into a Saints game, the demographic is New Orleans.
Right.
Right. So how do you narrow it down? That's more of a, Saints game vibe than a demographic.
So like I would say every time the event in the venue kind of dictates what the party is going to be to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you're going into. Like if you go into a Superdome for a sporting event, like, it's jock jams. You know what I'm saying? It's like the top 4% of the top 40 that that everybody in this arena is going to know when it comes on. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to be careful not to like play to any specific niches. You kind of have to play something that everybody is going to react to.
So when you're having those smaller crowds, can you get more niche in those songs?
Definitely. I did a 50th birthday party this past weekend at New Society. And, most of the people in there were around 50 years old. A lot of the crowd was, kind of like Indian descent, you know what I'm saying? So, like I was playing like a lot of Bollywood songs, but they're all from America. Like the main dude whose birthday party, like he's from Metairie, So they main thing they wanted was like classic 90s hip hop.
Gotcha.
So it's like where on a regular basis, like if I go into the Superdome, I have to play stuff that everybody knows. I can go in here and I can play like some real kind of like hidden gems that people haven't heard in a long time because I know they're of age to appreciate it and respect it. So, what I'm saying? I was in there playing, some Wu-Tang and, Pete Rock and CL Smooth, they reminisce over you. Like I got a request for Keith Murray, the most beautifulest thing in this world. Like I can't remember the last time I played that record, let alone had somebody say, yo, and it was a lady that came and asked me for the record.
For real.
So, again, like that's the type of audience I'm in front of. So I can go deep in the crates and pull out these songs. And like they had 2 Live Crew came and performed there. So like that's the type of energy that we were working with. That was my audience. So I could do things a little bit differently than I would do if I was at like a college party or at the Superdome or, somewhere else.
Gotcha. So what is the hardest part? Like given just a regular event, not the Superdome or a private party, but just a regular event, what's the hardest part about getting the crowd going?
Maybe like that first hour and a half, because you really kind of have to build a relationship with your audience and build some trust with them. Like you can't really go too far off on the side on stuff because they're not prepped for it yet. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like you just kind of have to like warm them up, play some stuff where it's like, people turn their heads and be like, all right, I hear you. I see what you're doing.
Gotcha.
And then once they kind of say like, all right, he kind of knows his music. He knows what he's doing. You get people kind of vibing. You get to a certain point where it's go time and like everybody's really ready to party and you kind of have everybody, on the same accord, on the same vibe. And then you can really start to go in and like once they start having a great time and you have that relationship with them, then you could kind of start, maybe pulling a few like special joints and taking a chance on something that,
Gotcha.
you don't know if it's going to go over well or not, but when it hits, it hits. And sometimes like I'll play a record and like you can just feel the energy go like, whoop, and I'm like, damn, swing and a miss. But
so what do you do in that situation when if you bring the crowd down, if the crowd's just not feeling, like how do you, all right, let's go.
You stumble, you just keep walking.
Just keep walking.
You just find another record. Like, all right, and sometimes I'll have like the record that I was planning to go to that I knew was going to take it up. But I'm like, all right, this is my opportunity for me to like sneak this in there.
Got you.
And then if it goes off well, then maybe I could hold off on playing this next record. But I have my ringer ready so that if the energy starts to drop, I can drop this one and it's kind of like we right back without missing a step.
You always have that in the bank? Or some in your head kind of?
Again, like I have kind of like the records, like I know how these records are going to play out.
Gotcha.
So, if there's time I'm like, oh, I can play like, just for example, if I, Before I Let Go is like a classic that like never misses for the most part. So if I'm sitting, in this time where like, all right, it's time to go to Before I Let Go, like the crowd is there, maybe I can sneak in, this other Gap Band record or this other, Janet Jackson record, something in here that kind of, fits the vibe and the tempo, but I'm not really sure how people are going to react to it. But I got this record in the tuck.
Right.
So then if it doesn't go off well, boom, everybody, oh, whoa, and you good.
We're back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously you've gotten 30 plus, 40 plus years of experience. And all this, what you're talking about is just from years and years and years and years of just looking, watching, learning the crowd. So what it sounds like is you just pay attention and building that relationship with your audience each and every time.
Yeah.
So going back to, in those early days, at what point did you say, I'm going all in on DJ? This is what I'm made to do. This is my career. And take us through that part of your life.
I mean, when I think at 13, like when I started doing, I'm like,
you were all in then?
I had delusions of grandeur that, I could be a hip hop star and just do music. We had our rap group, in junior high school and high school. So, we were in the bedrooms making our songs. Like the first time we performed at the Jazz Fest, was in 92. It's like my sophomore year in high school.
For real?
Me and my crew was performing at Jazz Fest, and we doubled back the next year and did Congo Square in 1993.
So you were a sophomore in high school. How did you get that gig that's a big stage.
So it was a little bit of nepotism.
That's all right. I got that. We got a little bit of that.
My dad was dating Allison Minor, who was the manager for like Rebirth Brass Band, and she also had a stage in the grandstands at the fest that she kind of like coordinated. You know what I'm saying? It was basically kind of like an interview stage where, artists would come in there and perform, and she would talk to them about the music. And, she would hear us in the house doing our thing. And, we'd be riding in the cars, and I'd be like popping my tapes in like, hey, listen to what we did or whatever. So she was, she made the offer, was like, hey, if y'all would like to, I could probably find a space for y'all to put y'all on the stage. So like me and, like 10 of my friends who, we had our whole little crew at the time. We went on and performed.
Wow.
And that was kind of the genesis for a lot of the stuff that I do, because that, unbeknownst to me, that was like getting me into all of my management stuff, because I was the one doing all the advance for the concert. You know what I'm saying? So for the show. So like I'm making sure we got all the tickets. I'm making sure all the paperwork is together. I'm coordinating everybody getting there on time.
So of all your 10 friends, you were the one
like I was the one like,
happen.
like, yo, like this, we need to do this, and that. And making sure we got the check so that we can go and pay the studio that we had to go to like, professionalize up our tracks, because,
Right.
we was in the bedroom, so we had to get some more professionally produced of our ideas. But yeah, like, like that was the genesis for a lot of the stuff. And then the next year around, Reggie Toussaint hit me up and was like, would y'all be interested in coming get on Congo Square? And I'm 16. Like, of course I want to come and perform on Congo Square. So, so again, like, like just really young, doing it, learning, trying to perfect it and just figure it out at the time. So like, when I was super young, I was like, oh, maybe I want to be a lawyer or a psychologist or something. I like to talk. I still feel like I like to talk sometimes. My wife would probably agree. But, once I kind of got into the hip hop, like that defined every other decision I made. So even like college, I ended up staying in New Orleans to go to college. Because, if I go away somewhere, then, like my whole crew can't go with me out there. And
Right.
like we're
So
working
you went to college where?
Yeah, I went to Dillard University.
Gotcha.
And I had a scholarship to go there. So it made sense.
Right.
And, as I've gotten older and realizing the importance of kind of like reinvesting your creative talents in your home. One issue we've had, in the city is like a lot of brain drain where, folks feel like, oh, we got to go to New York, we got to go to Cali, we got to go to Nashville or Miami or wherever. Like we have to go anywhere else but here to be successful. And we've been shown that that's not true. You know what I'm saying? Like Cash Money was able to do it from here. Like there's a lot of artists that have been able to do it from here and maintain this as their home base. And, that has enriched the culture and, opened the doors for other people to be able to, get off the ground. Like, when I think about all the people that I've had a positive impact on and been able to help get in the game or, just give them a hand up to reach the next level from wherever it is that they were. Like, if I wasn't here,
right,
who knows what would have happened, but I feel like, it's very important for us to look out for the ones that, are traveling with us and the ones that are coming after us. Because, I want New Orleans to be great. I want the New Orleans music scene to be great and have opportunities that I didn't have. There was a couple times I kind of got fronted on by people. I was like, yo, can you show me how to do it? And it's like, I'm not showing you how to do it. It's like, who are you, kid? Like, get away from my window. Like, I don't know you. So like I've tried to, consciously not have that energy with folks that, come up to me, randomly at like Home Depot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think this was like 2008 after Katrina when I was doing like the mixtape thing heavy. Like I think we had just put out the Lil Louisiana with Lil Wayne. That dropped, Raw Dizzy was popping. We had his mixtapes out on the street. And I was hosting a lot of stuff. And there was a guy that was in Home Depot. And he was like, Raj, like, how much is it going to cost for me to hire you to host my mixtape? And I sat there for like 10, 15 minutes with him and explained to him that like giving me a couple $1,000s to host your mixtape is not going to do as much for you as if you took that money and just promoted it yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because you could pay me to do it, but you still have to promote it. And if you spend all of your money paying me, how you gonna get it out here to the public? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, look, keep your change, do your stuff, get you some posters, get you some flyers, pay for some, whatever, and show up and be out here in the community and put your music out here.
For sure. For sure.
So, I think it's definitely important for us to give back, whether it's wisdom, whether it's, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Just some form of help to a lot of folks to come after us just to have more opportunities.
Right. And I actually had someone on the podcast last week that talked a lot about that, how they're trying to keep New Orleans artists here because a lot of them are, going away, New York, Los Angeles, wherever else. What kind of impact do you think that would have on New Orleans if we're able to keep more of the artists here, as opposed to the other end of that where if we didn't keep them here and they are moving and all the artists are leaving, what kind of impact do you long-lasting impact do you think that would have on the city?
I think it'll be great. Like it creates gravity.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the more weight and the more leverage that the artists that are from here that are popping, that are here, that come home here, they have their teams here, their management is here. They pay taxes here. Like that was one thing. Like when we was on tour with Cash Money, and we would come off tour and we would come home and everybody would take their checks and they would go like out to the mall or, like they would spend their money here in the city. They would come out to the club. Like, when House of Blues used to be popping because you never knew who you were going to see there. You know what I'm saying? Like Wayne and, Squad would come pop up and just come sit on the stage. So it's like, the nightlife is popping because the New Orleans stars are out at night. And like Cash Money would always have people visiting in town, come and hang with them out in Eastover. And, they be coming out with them. So like it's bringing people into the city. You know what I'm saying? Like when PJ Morton moved back, and I met with him and he was telling me like his plans, like he intentionally was moving back here to try to, bring some of that back to the city. You know what I'm saying? Like set up shop here. So it's like, nah, you writing for people. They're coming to New Orleans to work with him. Like JoJo is coming here to work with him. Monica is coming here to work with him. Like whoever it is that he's writing for, they're going to come into New Orleans and record, So the more people that we have here that can go out to the world and, acquire these resources and bring them back to New Orleans, the better it's going to be for everybody. Like when we came back off tour, the Cash Money Rough Rider tour, one of the first things I did, I went to Guitar Center and bought a keyboard. You know what I'm saying? So I could come back and put it in my studio and I could make some more tracks and do some more music with my crew.
Right.
So those real lasting effects.
Yeah, and I think, and New Orleans, music is such a huge part of New Orleans. And I know, there's lots of artists that just want to make it. And they have a lot of pressure to go out to wherever, right? But it's got to stay home.
Yeah.
I've got to keep it here and keep it, what do you say, keep it grounded or what do you say?
The gravity. Like,
gravity.
It creates gravity. So like if you popping like, Tank and the Bangers, like, they here, Grammy Award winning, like bring people to the city. This is where we're at. You can find us here, and New Orleans is so cool because, New Orleans is not tripping on fame because again, like we know somebody that does stuff. So when you see people out on the street, like it's just normal for us. But for the people who are outside of here, like we need outside revenue flowing into the city. And I think, keeping those acts here, like go out, have all the success that you need. Like if you need to go to New York and get something popping, great. Bring them resources back to the city.
Love that. Totally agree with that. So let's talk about some of the struggles, if any, in the early parts, booking those first gigs and, either not getting those phone calls or getting told no, or, tell us about those early struggles, if any.
I think I can't really say that I had struggles. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was blessed. Like, my parents were very supportive of what it was that I was doing. Like, I think was it my junior or senior year, we had a chance to open up for the Far Side. And I didn't get a chance to see the Far Side because after we performed, my dad was outside waiting in the car because, like, I gotta go home. Like, I'm not old enough to be up in here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm 16
Right.
years old. Like, they selling alcohol in here. You know what I'm saying? ATF come through, shut this whole venue down.
Yeah.
You got minors in the building. So, but they allowed me the freedom to, make a lot of noise in the house and, help to give me the space to be able to create and, to be able to, achieve my dreams.
Love that.
So, the struggle I had was kind of like all of the typical artist struggle, like, like just getting people to listen, getting people to believe in you,
Sure.
and to give you a chance, trying to convince the promoters to, and the other DJs to, like, let me get on. Like, it's a funny, like, I always, Don Juan with Full Pack, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but, like, he's produced, like, a lot of, big songs for, like, Fifth Ward Weebie and Master P and stuff. Their crew, Full Pack, like, we really looked up to them, like, early on because, like, they had actual, like, records out.
Gotcha.
Like, we would go to Odyssey Records and buy, like, the Full Pack, like, white label records. And there was an event at this place called Ebony Square. It used to be on Magazine Street. And he was DJing. I was like, yo, can I get on? And he looked at me, he was just like, which, I'm a little young kid,
Sure.
like, he don't know me.
Right.
Like, I might get on there and break all of his needles, you know what I'm saying? But, I always mess with him about that. But, just showing and proving and getting people to believe in you and allow you to do your thing on the different stages. Like, because it's a lot of responsibility, for people to put on your back, especially like, with stuff like the Saints, the NFL is very strict about stuff. And you have a venue with tens of thousands of people, you got to be confident that the person you're giving control of to freely just do whatever it is that they want to do is going to do the right thing. So it's just, it takes time to build up that clientele, that respect and that trust with the music community at large, that you belong and that you're one of us.
You talked about, the Saints. Tell us how the opportunity came about in DJing. When was that?
That was 2017. So what had happened was 2017, I ended up getting the gig to DJ the main stage at Essence Festival in the Dome. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got connected through my homie Tony, and so I'm DJing Essence Fest on the main stage for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm like, yo, like, this is amazing,
huge.
right?
Yeah.
So we get to the early production meetings because it's a big production. And I find out that the people who are doing the production for the Essence are the same people who do all the production for the Saints and for the Pelicans.
Gotcha.
So at the first meeting, when we get in there, I'm like, yo, like, who do I have to kidnap in order to be able to DJ the Pelican games? Because that was my original thing. Like, I wanted to DJ at the Pels game. Like, I had been trying to get into the Pels since they were Hornets when they first came here in, like, what it was, like 2003,
Yep.
when they first came down here.
And you wanted to do the Pels over the Saints because it was...
Well, because, the basketball game DJs was more of a thing.
Gotcha.
People DJing for the football games, that wasn't really sexy.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? But, NBA action, like, it's fantastic. Like, I want to be in there rocking the arena during the basketball games. So, corporate wasn't really feeling that at the time. And, but they had, like, stuff outside that they would do. Like, they used to have, like, the little fan fest outside the arena. So I was in the DJ rotation for that. So, like, I was still getting work from the Pelicans, but I'm trying to get inside the bowl.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, like, who I got to kidnap? And they were like, look, after we get through with all this Essence stuff, we'll talk. You know what I'm saying? Because they was like, we think it might be easier to get you in under the radar at the Saints than the Pels.
For real?
Yes.
Okay.
Just because of, again, like, both of those, like, it's it's a Broadway production. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the script book for the games is like this thick. You know, like
for what, the Pels or
for both of them. Like, you know, NBA, NFL, like, you know, from the time the doors open, even before the doors open, like what's going on outside, what's happening at this point, when do the players run in, what's gonna be the audio cue, what's the stinger for this? Like, it's a full production, lights, music, audio. Like, there's tons of people that are running around the arenas all day to make sure that it looks like a seamless show. And my hat's off to all of them. Like, they do an amazing job with that.
A lot more than what we see on the outside.
Yeah, like you go to the game and you think like, oh, like, you know, when they bring out the big air guns and shoot the T-shirts up in the air, like, that doesn't just happen. Like, all of that's like, you know, like super planned out, like down to like, where do they store those things after they come out and shoot them? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a whole production and everything is very timed out. And it has to be executed correctly. So because of that and kind of like, you know, the upper management's attitudes toward, you know, DJing and hip hop, you know, they weren't really open to doing that in that fashion as of yet. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, look, if we can get you in at the Saints, kind of like on the pregame stuff, then, you know, if we can make that successful, we can kind of warm them up to the idea of having DJs for the full games for this type of stuff.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think, let's see, that was 2017, 2018 season. It wasn't until like the 2021, I feel like it was after COVID, where they actually had me in there like for the full game. You know what I'm saying? And that only really happened for one season, but it worked. And, you know, they started, you know, bringing in DJs for the Pelicans games. So I think it was when we had like there was a playing game that went off and they brought me in and I think I DJ'd like 2 or 3 of the playoff games in the arena. And, you know, the vibe was right. Everybody had a good time. You know, unfortunately, I got kept at the Saints and I did not necessarily get transferred over to the Pelicans, but it's all good. Originally, they had my girl DJ Jess. She was DJing for the Pels, and now my homie Antwiggity is the in-game DJ for the Pelicans, and you know he does a great job. You know, they have like, you know, like now they've added DJs like all around the concourse, so they'll, you know, for like one game, they'll have like 3 or 4 different DJs in the building. Like, you know, Hollaback will be downstairs by the store. They'll have like Spin Griffey. In like one of the little I forget the name of the lounge. It's one of the sponsored lounges. And you know, you just playing music.
Right.
You know,
right
just it's just activations.
Gotcha,
you know, corporate activations. Like, oh, we got a sponsor, you know, we can put this and put some signage up and have some entertainment and stuff happening for the people. And like even like on Saints Day now, like, you know, you have the stuff that's happening at Champion Square, where they've had like Irie Spins or my homie DJ PJ out there DJing for Champion Square. I'm inside doing the pre-game stuff. You know, Rockaway will be in one of the other lounges. They've had Hollaback out there, I think, at the little concourse entrance coming up. So, you know, and again, like I feel like I've helped to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? Because they snuck me in there under the radar to try to DJ stuff out, and I was able to make that work to where they felt confident in it. So now they've been able to add more and more DJs. So now you got like, you know, 8, 9, 10 DJs that are able to get a check and get some visibility from the Saints and the Pels organization.
That's cool. They're all playing pregame or what?
It's different times.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like there'll be like pregame stuff that's happening, and then sometimes like there's after game stuff that goes down. Like I think they had like an after for I think I saw on Instagram for the HBCU night. Like after the game, I think they moved Holla back into like the little courtside club, and he DJ'd like an after party in there for it, you know? So, you know, it makes me happy, you know, to see that all of these opportunities are coming up where, you know, more people are able to find space to do their thing and get a check.
So you said you DJ for the actual Saints games for one season?
Yeah.
And take us to that first Saints game that you DJ for. What was that like, you know?
I don't know. I mean, it's all like if it's one game, it's any of the games. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, like New Orleans is New Orleans, the audience doesn't really change. I think the biggest thing for me was kind of like getting adapted to like the playbook, just like how the production unfolds.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Because like, there's certain things that have to happen, and, they want these certain songs here, or like, when they were doing like the player playlist songs, where they would have like the graphic for the players, I'd have to play this at a certain time. And then like when the team would run out, like, I'm on an earpiece and they're counting me down like 5, 4, 3, 2, go, for whatever the song it is that I need to play when these people come out. So like it's just a whole production. Like it was funny because Manny Fresh, he ended up DJing one of the games. And afterwards he was like, Raj, like, this what it is that you gotta work with over here? Because it's not like people think like it's not like a typical party where you come in there and you're just playing songs and rocking. Like you are, really like doing like parts of the production and the activation. Like you're playing a role in this larger thing.
Sure, but how much of your creativity are they allowing you to, or is it mostly like these are the songs we want you to play?
Like there's gaps in there where I can do stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, they would be like, hey, we have like a 20-second timeout on the end of this break, or, after we do this ad run, I need 45 seconds of something hype to get the people up. You know what I'm saying? And then, I can come in there and I can do something real quick. But, unfortunately, a lot of those things are kind of far and in between. But there's a overall energy of the dome and of the vibe that I'm able to kind of like contribute to. You know what I'm saying? Like my presence and, like suggesting certain things. And, even if people give me a list of songs, like I can still like play them in the way that I would play them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like I'm still able to kind of like do my thing, but there are a lot of boundaries, because again, like all of these times have to get hit. All of these thingers got to happen. We got to, the game has to be on air at a certain time.
Yeah. It's like you said, it's a playbook and the book is this thick, right?
Yeah.
So everything, it's like a major
There's
production.
nothing left. Nothing that's left to chance.
Nothing.
There'll be like 30 seconds in here, music, Raj Smoove. And then after that, it'll be like, okay, now we switch into, whatever's coming from the laptop, or now we have, to read, or this ad is coming on the big screen. Like
every second's accounted for?
Every second is accounted for.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that, that limitation, those boundaries, does that frustrate you as a DJ, or you just happen to have the opportunity to be with the Saints? How does that sit with you?
Like, that's what it is.
It's
not a party. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're coming
That's true, yeah.
Like if you go into court, there are certain things that you have to do to plead your case to the judge, which is different if you're at your friend's house and y'all just arguing.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
Okay. I got you, yeah.
Yeah, so you can't make an argument in the barbershop or the bar room the same way you can do to the judge.
That's true.
And that's what it is.
Gotcha.
Like, I'm coming in here, I'm figuring out how to be creative within the limitations that I have that are even allowed just because of by virtue of what the event is.
So when you curate music and come up with, I'm guessing you do a lot of back end work before prepping, whether it's for no. So tell me. Are you listening to new music? Are you what's going on the back end, or is it just all up here and you kind of just shoot from the hip?
Again, like it's not that simple because I've been doing like 4 decades worth of research.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's constant. It's we're gonna bring it back to the law.
There you go.
All right. You go to law school and you learn all of the laws and all of the ways that you have to prepare your case, right? Mm-hmm. So you got that down. But then as time goes on, new laws get introduced. So you learn the new laws and you apply it to what you already been doing. So, I have my musical foundation of what I kind of came in on. And since then, like when new songs come out, like there are ways that, I learn about new songs, whether it's from listening to the radio or people come and make a request or, like my kids listening to whatever and getting hyped over stuff. So, however it is that I come upon like, okay, this is a new record that I need to include in my repertoire for whatever these events are. And then I figure out how to work it in. And once I get it in, like, now it's in there. You know what I'm saying? like, I'm building off of decades of precedent and just adding these new little things in there. So, and again, like it's just not that difficult.
Gotcha. And when you are listening to this new music, like I read new laws, are you dissecting it? Are you kind of?
It ain't really that deep. It's just like, if somebody asks me to play a song and I play it and I see everybody's ears, perk up like, oh, like that's my joint. I know I need to keep this record in the rotation because people are having an emotional response to it.
Gotcha.
So and like that's what it all comes down to. Like I want to play stuff that's gonna make people be like, yo, oh my God, like I need to hear this right now.
Gotcha.
So, if somebody comes and requests something and I play it and the energy goes like that and nobody reacts, then I'm like, you know what, I might not need to play this
again
as much. I can just wipe this off the board. I don't need to worry about this anymore.
So when you going into an event, what's the goal? Is the goal to get the crowd as hyped as possible and keep them there? Or is it a steady build?
Again, like it depends on the energy or the event. So like there's some events where it's like, if I'm doing a whole event like 4 hours, right? And people are kind of like coming in, like it's not like, the whole crowd is there at go time, then I can kind of build it up. Cause like, like I'm playing for 5 people, and then I'm playing for 15 people, then I'm playing for 30 people. So what I did for the 5 people might be different as more and more people come in there, and I can start building up. And again, like building that relationship with the audience, But if I get put on a festival, like this year, I'm supposed to be opening up for one of the bands and opening up for Nas at Congo Square this year. When I get on, the crowd's gonna already be there. I don't have any build-up time. You know what I'm saying? Like I just have to, like the first record I play has to set the tone. So everybody's gonna be like, yo, like this is exactly what we need right now.
Gotcha.
So like the goals, really kind of depend on the event, the crowd, what people are expecting of me. You know what I'm saying? Because like, at the Saints, if I got 45 seconds to do something, that's no build-up time. Like as soon as I gotta play an instant banger.
Right.
But if I got time and people are just kind of like chilling and nobody feels like, like there's a big responsibility to dance right now, then I can kind of like, start building them up and just setting the tone, setting the mood, and then slowly, build it up until, we take off and then, try to keep it there for as long as I can.
Wow, that's like an art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Music is art, but the way you play it is an art too.
I try to look at it like, like when people compose a song and they, putting their notes together, to create that melody, like every song I play is a different note. So like by the end of the night, I've created like my own song that is this, like, it's kind of like, when people like paint, on the spot, like I'm creating this in the moment as we go along. I don't know what it's going to be beforehand, but hopefully at the end of the night, people will be like, yo, like this is the most amazing party I've ever been to in my life.
All right, some last questions. I like to have some rapid fire questions. Favorite song to play in the pregame?
I don't know. Like, again, like the pregame is one of those times where everybody isn't necessarily engaged yet, and a lot of people aren't really paying attention.
Yeah, true.
But, if we want to talk about like songs that like don't miss, like Back That Thing Up, kind of like Never Misses, Before I Let Go, Never Misses, Poison, BBD, one of them records that don't, very rarely misses, Wipe Me Down, Boosie and Fox, like, those are kind of like the instant bangers. Like when you play that, people are gonna move.
That's true.
Yeah. Now, I might not be listening to those songs in my free time, but when it comes to the party, because I was messing around with my Serato on my computer the other day, and I looked through like it tells you how many times you've played certain songs. Like it goes back like since I first started having Serato like in 2006. So like I can see like the number counts of all the songs that I played. And I think like Back That Thing Up was like number 1. Before I Let Go was up there. Like it's
how many times had you played it?
It was in the thousands. Yeah. But I DJ a lot of parties. So
that's true.
That's
true.
Yeah.
That's good. That's yeah, treading on there you go. Before I go on to my next, I did want to mention that Lil Wayne called you the best DJ in
greatest
the world.
DJ in the world.
Greatest DJ.
The greatest
in the world.
DJ in the world.
Come on.
Yeah.
That must have made you proud. That must have been.
It was kind of a throwaway. I don't want to say like a throwaway. Like, we used to do like the Squad Up mixtapes, in the early 2000s. And, we would be doing like little skits in there to put like in between like the mixtape songs that we had. And, Wayne would be in there like, yeah, we got this, that, blah, blah, blah. We talking. He's like, so Raj Smoove, the greatest DJ in the world, like play the next song. And he did it like a couple times on, I think it might have been like Squad 5, the Squad 5 mixtape. And, I ain't really think of nothing. It was just like Wayne in there, like just being crazy, doing his thing. But then people started coming up to me on the street and being like, greatest DJ in the world. So I was like, yo, like this is really catching on. You know what I'm saying? And then, people really started kind of like feeling like that. You know what I'm saying? So, it's one of those things where it's like, I didn't say it, like Wayne said it, and then the community started saying it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm humbled by it. I'm honored by it. Especially like the fact like other DJs will say it to me. You know what I'm saying?
That's fact. That's gotta feel good.
Like I walk in like the greatest DJ in the world. Like, like so like my my cohorts, my friends, the people that do what it is that I do hold me in high regard, and like I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? I try to, honor that as much as possible, because I don't want to let nobody down.
I like that. So what sets you apart from, sets you apart from other DJs?
I think my fear of being whack. You know what I'm saying? Like no matter what party I'm in, no matter, how many times I've done this, I still, I stand there, I'm like, yo, like I can't be whack right now. Like what do I have to do to not be whack right now? Like I want everybody to have a good time. So it's just that constant just dialogue in my mind. Like, all right, like I'm not done. Like I can't rest on my laurels for, we may have had fun for this first hour, but I got 2 more hours to go.
Right.
Like, I gotta kill it. So, I just always have that in the back of my mind pushing me to make sure like I'm doing the right thing. Like I never, I'm never gonna like just pop out and just be like, you know what, I'm just leaving it to be whatever it's gonna be. Like, no, like I'm intentionally trying to figure out how to make these people have a great time.
All right, so second rapid fire question, your favorite venue to DJ at?
I probably would say House of Blues, just because, I got so much history there, and there's so many different spots in House of Blues to DJ. You know what I'm saying? Like, like the main hall, like for the concerts, is always a great time. Like, in I think it was like 97, 98, one of those years, we opened up for Wyclef at the House of Blues. And, like that was amazing. Like I got to do like my little DJ turntablism tricks and all of that. Yeah. And, again, like hearkening back to, like my first visions of me being a DJ and listening to Jazzy Jeff and hearing him do his thing in the crowd, like, ah. And then for me to be on stage and do that and everybody just losing their mind, like it House of Blues has a special place in my heart. And then you got like Foundation Room in the House of Blues where, it's just a different vibe. It's a lot more intimate. And, I've spent a lot of nights DJing up in there. So yeah, I think House of Blues is kind of like my favorite venue in the city.
What's a NOLA hidden gem? Someplace in New Orleans, whether it's a restaurant, anything that you would want to promote? And anybody?
I mean, one of the main duck-offs I go to, and I might go there after I leave here because I'm hungry, is Trini Lisa's. It's over off Carrollton and I think on the Hem Court or whatever, but it's like, Caribbean food. And she has like some of the best the best barbecue jerk chicken in the city, and the plantains and the doubles and the spinach. Like it's just,
Now I'm hungry. Shoot.
Yeah. And like she's in the kitchen whipping it up like it's a small, restaurant.
Okay. So she's doing it herself.
Like it's true.
And what's it called?
Trini Lisa.
That's what's up. All right. So one of the last ones. Favorite snowball flavor?
Snola. What's the it's the red one with the ice cream on the inside.
The ice cream one has a stuffed snowball.
It's a stuffed snowball. I forget the name of it. It starts with a D. Like Daryl's Delight. That's it.
Daryl's Delight.
Daryl's Delight. It's kind of like a weird like tutti frutti snowball, but it has ice cream on the inside. Yeah.
Where's that from?
Snola.
Snola, okay.
Yeah.
Where's that at?
It's up Carrollton.
Oh yeah.
Like right close to St. Charles, like before you get to Camellia Grill, it's like right on that little side street right there.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every time it's a banger.
All right. And one last thing is if someone's listening to this podcast that wants to make it in the DJ, whether they're young or whether they're just starting out, what's one piece of advice you give to them?
Just stay at it. Like it's something you definitely need like your 10,000 hours to get good at. I think in today's day and age with social media and kind of like, the attention market, like people feel like, oh, if I can create content and I can, be seen or, become popular, that's what my career is about. And, at least for me and the legacy that I've come out of, you know what I'm saying? Like, DJing, music in general, you want to connect with people, you want to touch people, you want to get that emotional response. So, just learn and perfect your craft. You know what I'm saying? Like find your voice and what it is that you do that nobody else could do it the way that you do it and lean into that.
So what's next for DJ Raj? What's on the forefront?
I got so much stuff happening. We about to get into festival season.
Yes.
I did my own festival last year, Smoove Fest. We bringing that back in August. So y'all stay tuned for that.
Where's that at?
At Broadside.
Mm-hmm.
We doing it. I got artists that I work with, so be on the lookout for like Flagboy Gizz's new project. Hot Sizzle got a project out now, Brass and Ass. He about to put out a greatest hits joint. My girl 504 Icy Girl, Poppy H just dropped the Sesh mixtape for an event that they do called NOLA Secret Sesh. So a lot of the artists that they have perform at their events, we did like a compilation album. So that's out right now. Go check that. I did. I recorded and like engineered like the project, but I also produced like one of the tracks on there. So go check that out. Working on Journey to Funk Star with the band Waterseed is a really dope, funky, interactive virtual experience that we've been putting together for that.
Here in the city?
Yeah. Well, it's a show. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a
gotcha. Okay.
It's an immersive concert experience. And we've done like a few proof of concept events and some concerts and some shows with it. They've traveled with it, to a couple other cities. So like there's a whole lot of stuff with that. Like there's a comic book involved with it. Working on there's a lot of content that's coming out of the whole Journey to Funk Star thing. So, and then, just keeping these parties rocking. So
that's just about rounds us out for today. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. The greatest DJ in the world. My man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Shoot us a 5-star review if you liked it. And stay tuned next week for more content. From NOLA with the Forstalls is presented by Jonathan and Chip Forstall. Executive producer, Mona Lisa Johnson, Sierra Media Productions. Host, Jonathan Forstall. Casting director, Jonathan Thomas, Ascension Branding and Marketing. Post-production editor and voiceover talent, Matt Palowski, Redline Studios in New York City. Produced by Ascension Branding and Marketing and Sierra Media Productions. Thanks for listening.